So I think one of the saddest things about our generation is that we're surrounded by people all the time, but like we barely speak to anyone. And we like to act like somehow strangers are like not real people or like NPCs or something. And that's such a bummer because I think life gets so much more interesting when you just start speaking to strangers and start having these random interactions that don't lead to anything, but they just add so much to your life. So, like, my reason for making this video is that I got back from a trip with a friend a few days ago, and we were in the Netherlands in a bunch of cities for like 5 or 6 days, and the trip was amazing. Honestly, like we saw so much, we did so much, and like there's so many highlights of the trip. But I was thinking back, and like the most highlights were not necessarily like activities we did or places we visited, but like very, very small random interactions with strangers. And I wanted to speak about that because like this video isn't about like, oh, talk to strangers so you can get girls, or like how to make friends, how to approach people to meet friends. This is just literally about random strangers, like old people, shop owners, people on the train, just people on the street, and just like very self-contained conversations. Because I really think that your life kind of gets smaller when you start treating like somehow like strangers or people you don't know in public are not real, and like not in a condescending way, but like it's easy to think that somehow everyone you've never spoken to before is like off limit or is like just kind of like an NPC if you want to think about it like that. And like I get it. I used to be really, really shy, and this is also part of why I wanted to make this video, because I was so kind of surprised about how cool these interactions that I had were and how much it added to this already cool trip. So yeah, this just matters to me because I used to, again, as I said, I used to think that somehow it was sort of socially it would be frowned upon if I just start a random conversation with an old person on the train, or just make a comment to someone waiting in line behind me about like something about like the venue we're at or something. Like there's so many examples, and I used to think like people would just hate me. I used to think it would be perceived as like such a bad thing to do that, and I don't know. Like a lot of people call this shyness, but I don't know if that's like the word. It's more like being inhibited. It's more like sort of having a boundary that maybe someone else told you to have once, and you're putting this boundary on yourself, right? Like, I mean, sure, if someone doesn't want to speak to you, you don't bother them, like you just leave them alone. But like, so many people, especially older people and people who didn't grow up like watching short form content on every 5 minute bus ride, are actually super happy to just speak to strangers. And like there's so many different groups of people we spoke to, right? Like we did speak to people our age. Like we did have the kind of typical conversation at a bar with girls, or like we're speaking to random guys, just kind of who are playing football and everything. Like we did have the sort of typical socializing, but then we were at a museum, and we ended up speaking to some random middle-aged woman from America about like the exhibition, and then about a bunch of other things for like 10-15 minutes. And that was just such a cool conversation because it was like very self-contained, but she was really happy to speak to people, and so were we, and it was just really cool. And then another thing was, and this is like one of the funniest stories from this trip, but we were just sitting on a park bench like eating something, and then this guy suddenly comes up to us, and he's like 40 or 50 years old, and he's like, hey, sorry to bother you guys, but I just got divorced, and could you take pictures of me for Tinder? Because he's trying to get girls on Tinder, as he said, like he's getting back in the game. And he was like, hey, I'll give you $10 if you just take these pictures of me. And we were like, yeah, of course, we do it for free, right? And then we ended up speaking to him, like his life story, and we had this kind of photo shoot. Like we were telling him the angles to do. We were kind of like telling him in which direction to look, and it was really funny. And we like exchanged kind of stories about dating or about meeting people with him, and that was just like so random because we were sitting on we were sitting on a bench or kind of like near the sidewalk, and he just approached us randomly, and we spoke about so many things with him in the end. And that was just, I don't know, like that was almost as memorable as the actual like famous sites or like touristy things we did. And that was so cool. And between that and the museum, I think it's just so important to like, because a lot of people, first of all, like a lot of people are super shy and would never speak to anyone publicly, period, that they don't know. But then again, even when people do, or even when you like Google like speaking to strangers, or like you hear people kind of talk about this kind of interaction, like it's so focused on dating, right? Like it's almost like it's so bad. These like Ray-Ban, the Meta glasses, they'll like record themselves approaching girls or something. And I don't know, like all of this, like sure that's great, and like it's super cool if you like have the ability to approach a girl and like be charming, but all of these conversations and the focus of like this part of talking to strangers is that you always want something, right? Like you're approaching the girl and you're speaking about something, but like the next step's like to get the phone number, or like when you're just approaching a group of guys to make friends, like you're in the end you're still like pushing towards something. Like you want to present yourself as someone who'd be like cool to date or cool to be friends with, right? Like all of these things have a goal in mind that goes beyond the very conversation you're having in that moment. And again, like that's great, like do that, and those are also like super important interactions. But I'm here to tell you that a social interaction with a stranger, whether it's like an old person or a middle-aged person or someone in a completely different kind of environment than you, like these conversations are worth it on them. It's just like on their own, right? I guess like they're an end in themselves. They shouldn't be a means to an end. And obviously, nothing's gonna like come of these conversations, quote unquote, right? Like when we take pictures for this guy for his Tinder account, like the only thing we got from that was that it was funny. Or like when we speak to a woman about the museum, like you don't really get something from that for the future, but still, like these are some of the best things you can do. And again, I think like talking to strangers, first of all, you need to do it more in whatever capacity, but also like socially interacting feels like, I don't know, it should be like rebranded, not as something where you want something, where you're pushing towards something, where you're like doing it as like a certain strategy, but like the words you're speaking or the conversation you're having right now, that's the entire purpose. And again, like there's so many examples just on this recent trip. And me and my one friend, we both really went out of our way to speak to random people, and we ended up also like, I don't know if I mentioned that before, but like we were speaking to artists in a bookstore, who were also involved with a bunch of art galleries, and like just super interesting people. And I don't know, like these conversations, as I said, like looking back, these are the highlights of the trip, and not like the one famous tourist location we were at, where it's like, oh, you need to do that at. So yeah, I just wanted to speak about that. I didn't really script this, but I was kind of hyped to do this video. And also, I wanted to say thank you so much for the views. I think we're at 45 subscribers now, which, like, I know in YouTube terms is almost nothing, but, like, I'm super grateful to each and every one of you. And yeah, take care. I'll have a bunch more videos coming out soon, and peace out for now. Goodbye.